What if you cloned your body? Have you ever imagined what it would be like to have a perfect clone of yourself? Someone with the exact same face, voice, walk, even identical fingerprints. This person could take your place at work, handle tedious tasks for you, or even live a parallel life that you never dared to try. But wait, would this clone think like you? Would it share your memories, emotions, or would it develop into an entirely different person? And if one day you and your clone found yourselves in conflict, who would truly be the original? The idea of human cloning was once confined to science fiction, but today science is edging closer to that frontier. What would happen if you could actually clone yourself? Would it be a dream or a nightmare? Let's explore. Imagine stepping into a high-tech laboratory. In front of you stands a person, someone who looks exactly like you, down to the color of their eyes, the shape of their face, and even the smallest scars on their hands. But when you look into their eyes, you sense a strange emptiness. Despite the identical appearance, this clone has no idea who you are, nor any memory of the life you've lived. It doesn't know your name, it has no childhood memories, no personal preferences, no relationships, and no emotions that you've built over the years. It is simply an empty vessel, a blank slate waiting to be filled. Creating a physical copy of yourself, known as cloning, is scientifically possible. This process relies on somatic cell nuclear transfer, SCNT, where the nucleus of one of your cells is placed into an egg cell that has had its nucleus removed. This new cell is then stimulated to develop into an embryo and implanted into a uterus to grow like a normal human being. This is exactly how Dolly the sheep, the first successfully cloned mammal, was created in '96. However, there's one major problem. Cloning does not copy your memories or consciousness. This is because memories and personality are not stored in DNA. They are shaped by personal experiences, neural connections in the brain, and environmental influences. Even with the same genetic makeup, your clone would still have to go through a completely independent process of learning and development, just like a newborn baby. It wouldn't have your childhood memories, your favorite foods, your fears, or your past traumas. Your clone would grow up as a completely separate individual. If you were cloned as an adult, your clone would have the exact same body as you do now, but its mind would be entirely empty. It would need to learn how to speak, understand the world, and even form its own sense of identity. If raised in a different environment, it could develop a completely different personality and way of thinking. Now, imagine placing your clone into two different scenarios. If it grows up in a loving family with a good education, it could become a polite, intelligent person, living a fulfilling life. But if it is raised in a harsh, neglectful, or violent environment, it could turn out to be hardened, distrustful, or even ruthless. This proves that even with the same DNA, your clone would still be an entirely different person, with its own unique life and destiny. Ethical dilemmas of cloning without memories. Cloning a body without memories raises profound ethical questions. Does the clone have the right to be treated as a human being? If it has thoughts and emotions, should it be recognized as an independent individual or just a secondary copy? Who is responsible for its life? If a company or organization creates clones, would they be given freedom or would they be controlled as property? What if the clone refuses to accept its fate? One day it may ask, "Why was I created? Am I really me?" And if it feels oppressed, would it rebel against you? If you had a clone without memories, what would you do with it? Would you raise it as a long-lost twin? Or would you see it as a completely separate entity with no connection to you? If it tried to become another version of you, would you help it or feel threatened? Cloning without memories raises more questions than answers. It could be an opportunity to create new life, but also a great ethical and existential challenge. And while science may one day create a perfect physical copy of a person, the mind and soul of a human being remain impossible to replicate. Imagine waking up one morning and coming face to face with yourself, not just a reflection in the mirror, but a real living person, identical to you in appearance, voice, and even the way of thinking and memories. That person remembers every moment of your life, from childhood memories to secrets you've never told anyone. It doesn't just know who you are, it feels like it is you. So if two versions of you exist, who is the original? And can you truly trust yourself in another body? If cloning only creates a body identical to yours without memories, then copying an entire consciousness and personality requires much more advanced technology. Scientists are currently researching mind uploading, a process where all neural information in the brain is scanned, stored, and potentially transferred into a cloned body or even a computer system. This concept is based on recreating synaptic connectivity, meaning that a person's memories and personality are not just dictated by DNA, but by the way neurons connect and interact. If one day we could map and replicate all of the brain's connections and transfer them into another brain, the clone wouldn't just look like you, it would be you in every way. What happens if this becomes reality? If a clone with your memories and personality is created, it would immediately believe it is you. But the problem is, you still exist. This could lead to bizarre and even disturbing scenarios. Sharing or competing for your life? You and your clone both remember the same friends, experiences, and dreams. But there is only one home, one job, one partner. Can both of you share the same life, or would you try to eliminate each other to claim your identity? Identity crisis. If your clone has the same memories and personality, does it have the right to live as you? If you were to disappear, could the clone take over your life without anyone noticing? And if the clone feels like a secondary version, would it rebel? Mosarni. What happens when the two of you change? If two identical versions of you exist at the same moment, their experiences will soon start to diverge. Imagine you go on a trip while your clone stays behind at work. After a week, both of you will have different memories. Over time, the two of you will become separate individuals. At what point does the clone stop being you? A clone with your mind. Ethical and legal problems. Having an exact duplicate of yourself, physically and mentally, introduces complications beyond what we might imagine. Legal identity. If you and your clone have the same fingerprints, ID, and all memories of your past, who is the legally recognized person? Would the legal system consider both of you the same individual, or would it recognize the clone as a separate being? The perfect crime. If your clone commits a crime, could you be held responsible? Or worse, what if it decides to replace you and remove you from your own life? Would anyone even notice? Psychological distress. Knowing there is another version of you walking around could lead to paranoia and fear. You might feel watched or even threatened by your own duplicate. Would you be willing to share your life with another version of yourself? Or would you try to get rid of it before it could take your place? This isn't just a scientific question, it's a dilemma of identity, ethics, and psychology. While technology may one day create a perfect physical and mental clone, the real question remains. Are you truly prepared to face yourself? The future of human cloning. Potential and controversies. For a long time, human cloning has been surrounded by ethical concerns and fears about identity. However, if controlled and used responsibly, this technology could offer incredible benefits in fields like medicine and quality of life enhancement. Cloning isn't just about creating a perfect copy. It could also help humanity overcome biological limitations. 3 major benefits of cloning technology. Organ replacement, a medical revolution. One of the most promising applications of cloning is the regeneration of organs to treat diseases. Instead of relying on scarce organ donors or facing the risk of transplant rejection, cloning organs from a patient's own cells could offer a revolutionary solution. The science behind it. Current advancements in stem cell research and 3D bioprinting have already made it possible to create artificial body parts. In the future, we may be able to clone individual organs, livers, hearts, kidneys, or even limbs, from a person's own cells. This could not only save lives, but also eliminate the risk of immune rejection. Practical applications. Organ transplant without donors. If you suffer from kidney failure, a cloned kidney from your own cells could be transplanted without the risk of rejection. Odd, healing severe injuries. If someone experiences a serious accident, damaged body parts could be replaced with cloned tissue. Extending lifespan. If humans could gradually replace aging organs, life expectancy could increase significantly. While ethical challenges remain, such as who gets access to this technology and how to prevent abuse, partial cloning could become a revolutionary breakthrough in medicine. Enhancing work and life. Optimizing personal efficiency. One of humanity's greatest dreams is to accomplish more in the same amount of time. If you had a clone to assist you, your life could change entirely. Potential benefits. Increased work efficiency. A clone could work in your place, giving you more time to focus on personal interests or family. Better life management. You could assign your clone tedious tasks like cleaning, grocery shopping, or handling paperwork. Skill specialization. If each clone focused on a different field, you could become an expert in multiple disciplines simultaneously. Reality or science fiction? Today, artificial intelligence, AI, has already helped humans work more efficiently, but a physical clone would go far beyond that. However, this raises a critical question. Would you truly control your clone? If it possesses free will, would it accept living as your assistant? This is the fine line between optimizing life and creating identity conflicts. Enhancing survival. A part of you lives on. One of cloning's greatest benefits is the ability to sustain an individual's existence even if their original body is damaged or ages. Why is this important? If you suffer a fatal accident or a terminal illness, your clone could continue living with your memories. If brain uploading technology becomes a reality, a clone could serve as a vessel for your rebirth in a new body. Be nuts. Astronauts or explorers could use clones to undertake dangerous missions instead of risking their original bodies. Is immortality possible? If humans could clone and transfer their entire consciousness into a new body, we might get closer to the concept of biological immortality. However, this leads to deeper questions. Would you still be yourself if your body changed but your consciousness remained? And if multiple clones exist at the same time, who is the real you? Ethical dilemmas. The challenges of cloning. Human cloning offers incredible potential, from medicine and labor efficiency to extending life. However, it also introduces profound ethical and identity-related challenges. If this technology advances, society will face questions never encountered before. Will we treat clones as tools or as independent beings? Will organ replacement lead to inequality between those who can afford cloning technology and those who cannot? If humans can live forever through cloning, does life lose its meaning? Cloning technology is still in its early stages, but one day, these scenarios may become reality. When that time comes, humanity will have to decide whether cloning is truly the key to a better future, or a gamble with our very existence. Identity conflicts. When two you exist. If a clone has the same appearance, memories, and personality as you, the fundamental question arises: who is the real you? Issues of personal identity. If both of you think and feel the same way, would society recognize both as the same person? If your clone makes a critical decision, such as signing a contract, getting married, or committing a crime, who is legally responsible? If a clone is killed, would it be considered murder? In reality, personal identity is a key factor in legal and social systems. Passports, IDs, bank accounts all rely on the existence of a single individual. If two people share an identity, the legal system could face an unprecedented crisis: conflict between the clone and the original. Another major issue is the potential conflict between you and your own clone. When both share the same memories and goals, who gets to make the important decisions? Could there be a struggle for control over your life? A clone might feel unfairly treated if it is not granted the right to live independently. In the worst-case scenario, a clone might turn against its original, just like the plot seen in many science fiction movies. Ethical dilemmas. Do clones have human rights? A fundamental question in human cloning is, should clones be considered individuals with human rights? If a clone has consciousness, does it have the right to live? If a clone is created but treated as a mere tool, does that violate human rights? If it demands the right to live as an ordinary human, will society accept it? If a clone refuses to be controlled, should it have the freedom to separate from its original? This could lead to a serious ethical dilemma. A person may create a clone, but do they have the right to control its fate? If cloning becomes widespread, we may face a wave of resistance from clones fighting for their own rights, cloning, and discrimination. If clones are granted human rights, will they face discrimination? Throughout history, humanity has fought for equality, but if a new race of cloned humans emerges, will they be treated as second-class citizens? This is why many scientists and philosophers oppose human cloning, as it could lead to an unprecedented ethical and human rights crisis. The risk of abuse. Cloning technology could be used for harmful purposes. Like any technology, cloning has the potential to be misused in dangerous ways. Cloning for slavery or cheap labor. If clones are created solely for labor, who will protect their rights? If corporations mass-produce clones for work, would this be a form of modern slavery? This is one of the key reasons why human rights organizations strongly oppose the idea of human cloning. Cloning for military or warfare purposes. Governments or organizations could create cloned armies, programmed to fight without regard for their lives. A clone could be manipulated into becoming an assassin or carrying out dangerous missions instead of a regular human. If this happens, the world could face a future where wars are no longer fought by humans, but by cloned soldiers used as expendable tools, cloning for personal gain. Beyond labor and warfare, cloning technology could also be exploited for identity fraud. A person could create a clone of someone else to commit crimes. Body replacements. The wealthy might create clones to harvest organs or even replace themselves. These concerns raise the ultimate question: can we truly control cloning technology, or will it become a dangerous tool beyond human control? Cloning. A breakthrough or a threat? Human cloning could be one of the greatest breakthroughs in history, but it could also turn into a nightmare if not properly regulated. Issues related to identity, human rights, and potential abuse could make cloning one of the most controversial topics of the future. The key questions are: do we really need human cloning? Is society ready to accept clones as independent individuals? How can we prevent this technology from being misused? If we don't have clear answers to these questions, perhaps human cloning should remain in the realm of science fiction, for now. Human cloning, a fascinating yet risky concept. If this technology becomes a reality, will it be a great leap forward or a nightmare for humanity? As the boundary between originals and clones blurs, we will face unprecedented questions about identity, human rights, and ethics. What do you think about this issue? If given the chance, would you create a clone of yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you find the topic interesting, and share it to discuss with your friends. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.